हाय गाइस, सबसे पहले मेरे चैनल पर आपका स्वागत है। तो ये BCS की बुक है 93 पेजेस की। तो ये आपको पूरी पढ़ के दिखाऊंगा। देख सकते हैं दोस्तों। चलो स्टार्ट करते हैं। देख सकते हैं ये बुक है BCS बैचलर ऑफ कंप्यूटर साइंस। देख सकते हैं, फिर से देखिए 93 पेजेस की है। चलो तो स्टार्ट करते हैं। यूनिट 1 Introduction to Operating System. Lesson. Definition. Simply, software is a part of the computer system which enables the hardware to operate, or in other words, software is a generic term for organized collection of computer data and instruction. It is responsible for controlling, integrating, and managing the hardware component of a computer and accomplish specific tasks. In all other words, software tells the computer what to do and how to do it. For example, software instructs the hardware what to display on the user screen, what kinds of input to take from the user, and what kind of output to generate. The software communicates with the hardware by organizing the control sections, and the hardware carries out the instructions defined by the software. A set of programs which are specifically written to provide the user a precise functionality, like solving a specific problem, is termed as software package. For example, word processing software package provides functionality to the computer so that it can be used to create text document like letters and mailing lists. Similarly, an image processing software package assists a user in drawing and manipulating graphics. Next page. Classification types category of software. Computer software is divided into major classification types categories: system software and application software. System software is a generic term for referring to any computer program whose purpose is to help the user to run the computer system, whereas application software employs the capabilities of a computer directly to tasks that the user wishes to perform. The detailed explanation of above software classification is as below. 1. System software. System software includes the computer programs that run a computer system itself or that assist a computer in running. Application programs. System software programs are directly responsible for controlling, integrating, and managing the individual hardware components of computer systems. System software is more transparent and less noticed by the users. They actually interact with the hardware or the applications. This software provides programming environment in which programs can create applications to accommodate their needs. The environment provides functions that are not available at the hardware level and perform the task related to the executions of an application program. Hence, system software acts as an interface between the hardware of the computer and the software applications. Some example of system software operating system device drivers, language translator, and system utilities. Operating system is and main component of system software. Operating system OS is an integrated set of specialized programs which permit the continuous operation of a computer from the program to the next with the minimum amount of operator intervention. Simply, operating system means to create a bridge in between user and computer system, or in other words, operating system is a set of software program or a group of software program which provide the interface between man and machine, user and computer system. Or operating system is the first layer of software loaded into computer memory when it start up. As the start software layer, all other software that gets loaded after it depends on it. For various common core services, these common core services include risk access, memory management, task scheduling, and user interfacing. In addition, the operating system ensures that different programs executing at the same time do not interface with each other. It provides a software platform on top of which other programs can run. In simple words, the operating system organizes and controls can run. In simple words, the operating system organizes and controls the hardware. Examples of operating system are Windows, Unix, Linux, Novel, etc. The basic functions of operating system are memory management. Operating system handles allocation and delocation of memory space as required by various programs. User interface. Operating system provided the interface between the user and the hardware. Process management. Operating system handles the creation, deletion, suspension, responsion, and synchronization of process. Device management. Operating system manages all the devices of the computer system such as keyboard, printers, and modern. If any device fails, it detects the device failure and notifies the same to the user. File management operating system is responsible for creation and deletion of files and directories. It also organizes, stores, retrieves, name and protections all the file. Security management operating system protects system resource and information against destruction and unauthorized use. Time sharing. This is a way to allow more than one user to use the computer at the same time while many users are using the computers simultaneously. The operating system ensures that their jobs do not get mixed with each other device drives. This is also one of main component of system software. Device drivers are system programs which are responsible for proper functioning of device. Your device, whether it is a picture monitor, mouse or keyboard, has a driver program associated with it for its proper functioning. Whenever a new device is added to the computer system, a new device driver must be installed before the device is used. In modern operating system, most hardware drivers such as the keyboard drivers come with the operating system. Drivers acts like a translator between the device and program, typically on an operating system that uses the device. For example, when user prints a document, the processor issue a set of generic commands to the printer driver, and the driver translates those commands into the specialized instructions that the printer understands. Note that each device has its own set of specialized commands that only its driver understands. A device driver is not an independent program. It assists and is assisted by the operating system for the proper function of the device. Language translators. Computer understand only one language called a machine language. Form of machine language is 0 and 1. 2 is the burden of program entirely in OS, and one is a special programming language called a high-level programming language where they developed that resembled a natural language like English. Therefore, the tool was required which could translate a program written in a programming language to machine language. In other words, language translator help in converting programming language into machine language. Means they convert high level programming statement into the OS, and is that the computer is able to process and understand. Language translators are divided into three major categories: compiler, B. interpreter, C. assembler. The detailed explanation of the language translator is below. A. Compiler. Compiler is also one translator which is attached in microprocess CPU. Compiler is used to convert high-level language into machine-level language and vice versa, or in other words, compiler is a kind of translator that translator a program into another program known as a target language. The compiler replaces single high-level statement which a series of machine language instruction. A compiler usually resides on a disk or other storage media. When a program is to be compiled, compiler is loaded into main memory. The compiler stores the whole high-level program, scan it, and translates the whole program into an equivalent machine language program. During the translation process, the compiler reads the source program and check the syntax, grammatical error. If there is any error, the compiler generates an error message which is actually displayed on the screen. In case of error, the compiler will not create the object code until all the errors are rectified. When the program has been compiled, the resulting machine code is saved in an executable file which can be run on its own or any time. Now, this compiler is used in so many programming languages such as COBOL, C, C, C++, Java, Pascal, Fortran, etc. B. Interpreter is a one of system software. This system software is also called a translator device. Interpreter is used to translate the human high-level language into machine-level language, low-level language. Interpreter convert high language to machine-level language line by line. Or in other words, an interpreter translates a statement in program and executes the statement immediately before translating the next source language statement. When an error is encountered in the program, the execution of the program is halted and an error message is displayed. Similar to compilers, reinterpreted language such as Basic and Lisp has its own interpreter used in Basic and QBasic. Assembler is used to translate assembly program to machine language program object code, or in other words, in system, the assembly language program must be translated into machine code by a separate program called an assembler. The assembler program recognizes the character string that make up the symbolic names of the various machine operation and substitute the required machine code for each instruction. At the same time, it also calculates the required address in memory for each symbolic name of memory location and substitutes those address for the names, resulting in a machine language program can run on its own at any time. In short, an assembler converts the assembly codes into binary codes and then it assembles the machine understandable code into the main memory of the computer, making it ready for e- execution. Functions of assembler. Follow are the major function of assembler. 1. It assembles all the instruction in the main memory for execution. 2. Assembler allows the program to use mnemonics while writing source code. Program which are easier to read and follow. 3. Assembler translates some mnemonic operation codes to machine code and corresponding register address to system address. 4. Assembler allow the variable to be responded by symbolic names, not as memory location. 5. In case of large assembly programs, it also provided linking facility among the subroutines. 6. Assembler check the syntax of the assembly program and generates dynamic message on syntax errors. Error. 6. System unity utility. This is also one kind of a software system utility. Programs perform day-to-day tasks related to the maintenance of the computer system. They are used to support enhance and secure existing programs and data in the computer system. They are generally small programs having specific tasks to perform. Some utility programs are usually provided along with the operating system. Some are free while some need to purchased from the third party commercial vendors. Most common functions of system utilities include file management. 1. 2. Worse virus protection. 2. 2. Data recovery. 3. Disk management. 4. Firewall. 5. Disk cleanup. Other system softwares linker. And linker is one of popular system software. Simply linkers is used to link multiple modules, programs, or in other words, an application usually consists of hundreds or thousands of lines of code. The codes are divided into logical groups and stored in different models so that the debugging and maintenance of the codes becomes easier. Hence, of an application. It is always advisable to either to structure modular programming practices when a program is divided into number of modules. Each module can be modified and complied independently. In such a case, these modules have to link together, create a computer application. This job is done by a tool called a linker. A linker is a programming that links number of object modules and libraries to form a single executable program. Object modules are the machine code output from an assembler or compiler and contain executable machine code and data together with information that allows the linker to combine the modules together to form a program. Linkers are mainly used in programming language for calling a program and invoking predefined built-in functions. So for example, generally all high-level language use some built-in functions like some average, power, secure roots, and so on. These functions are usually provided by the programming language itself. The programmer developer and does not need to code them separately during the program execution process when a programming invokes any built-in function. The linkers translator the control to that program where the function is defined by making the addresses of this function known to the calling programming to loader. Loader is also the useful system. Software loaders are a part of the operating system that brings an executable file residing on disk into memory and starts it running. It is responsible for loading, linking, and relocation in computing. A loader programming is a program that performs the function of a linker program and then immediately schedules the executable for execution without necessarily creating an executable file as an output. Following are the four basic tasks of loaders. Loaders stores data and machine instruction into the memory. To link loader combines two or more separate object programs and supplies the information needed to allow reference between them. 3. Memory allocation. Loaded allocation memory space for the programs. 4. Relocation. Loaded separate a program to execute properly from its storage area. Type of loaders. There are two types of loaders present, such as relocation loaded. 2. Absolute loaded. The descriptions above loaded type are as below. Relocation loaded. Relocation loaded loadeds the program in memory altering the various address as required to ensure correct referencing. The decision as to where in memory the program is placed is done by operating system, not the file's header. It is a more efficient loaded, but there is a slight overhead in terms of a small delay while all the relative offset are calculated. The relocating loaded can only relocate code that has been produced by linker capable of producing relative code. Second, absolute absolute loaders the file into memory at locate the program. It is the memory space specified by the loader is currently in use. Execution cannot process and the user must wait until the required memory becomes free. Moreover, this type of loaded performs only loaded function. 2. Application software. Application software includes the computer program and related documentation that accomplish and user data processing task. Or in the other words, application software is a software that is used to perform a set of tasks to achieve certain results of outputs. Application softwares are dependent on system softwares. Application are pieces of software that perform tasks for the user besides helping the computer operates, which is the task of system software. Application software ranges from games, calculators, word processing, spreadsheet, image processing software, etc. The description of the application software is below. 1. Word process is a software used to compose, perform, edit, and print electronic documents. Word processing is of the earliest applications for office productivity and the personal computer. It involves not only typing but also checking the spelling and grammar of the text and arranging it correctly on the page. A variety of different typefaces is available for the variety of effects. It is possible to include pictures, graphs, chart, and many other things within the text of the document. It is also allows for changes in margins, font, and colors. Nowadays, virtually all person computers are equipped with the word processing program, which has the same function as a typewriting for writing letters, reports, or other document and printing. Example of the some well-known word processor are Microsoft Word and Word Perfect. Spreadsheet, one of the first commercial use of computers, was in processing payroll and other financial records. So the program were designed to generate reports in the standard spreadsheet form. Bookkeepers and Maintenance used spreadsheet sheet applications is a rectangular grid which allows text numbers and complex functions to be entered into the matrix of thousands of individual cells. The spreadsheet provided sheets containing cells, each of which may contain next and or numbers. Cells may also contain equations that calculate results from data placed in other cells or a series of cells. A simple example might be columns of numbers totaled in single cell containing an equation relating to that column. Spreadsheet software was used predominantly for record accounting and other numerically based tasks because financial and mathematical data and analysis are other often managed in a tabular style with columns of financial figures being manipulated and then influencing on other data computations. Microsoft Excel and Lotus 123 are examples of spreadsheet applications. 3 image edits editors. Image editor programs are designed specifically for capturing, creating, editing, and manipulating images. These graphics programs provide a variety of special features for creating and altering images, in addition to offering a host of filters and image transformation algorithms. Some image editors also enable the user to create and impose layers. Most graphic programs have the ability to import and export one or more graphic file for formats. These computer programs enable the user to adjust an image to improve its appearance. Which image editing software one can darken or lighten and image, rotate it, adjust its contract, drop out extraneous details, and much more. Examples of these programs are Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, and Corel Draw. For desktop publishing software (DTP), the term desktop publishing is usually used to describe the creation of printed documents using a desktop computer. It is a technique of using a personal computer to design images and pages and assemble type and graphics, then using a laser printer or image setter to output the assembled pages onto paper, film, or printing plate. These software are used for creating magazines, books, newsletters, and so on. Such software assist in creating sophisticated documents, including complicated page designs, detailed detailed illustrations and camera ready types, face, Quark Express and Adobe Page Marker and desktop publishing software. Guys, lesson second, operating system fundamental. Evaluation of operating system. In the early days, the computers lacked an form of operating system. The user would arrive at the machine armed with this program and data of on punched paper tape. I am drinking water. The program would be loaded into the machine and the machine set to work. Then same machines with the libraries of support code initial operating systems which were linked to the user's program to assist in operations such as input and output. At this stage, operating systems were very diverse, with each vendor producing one or more operating systems specific to its particular hardware. Typically, every time new hardware or architecture was introduced, there was need of new operating system compatible with the new architecture. This state of affairs contained new unit 1960. Yes, when IBM developed the S360, then came the small 4-bit and 8-bit processors known as microprocessors. The development of a microprocessor provided inexpensive computing for the small businesses. This led to the widespread use of interchangeable hardware components using a common interconnection, and thus an increasing need for standardized operating system to control them. The most important of the early operating system was CPM 80 for the 8085 Z80 microprocessors. With the development of a microprocessor like 386, 486 and the Platinum series by Intel, the whole computing world got a new dimension. AT&T and Microsoft came up with the character-based operating system, namely Unix and disk operating system, which supported the prevalent hardware arch- architectures. After the character-based operating system, Microsoft and Apple those came with their Windows 3.1 and MAC, which were GUI-based operating system and well suited for the desktop PC market today. Operating systems such as Windows XP and Red Hat Linux have taken the driver's seat in personal desktops. These operating systems, which their remarkable GUI and network support features, can handle diverse hardware devices. Explain how operating system is a resource manager. Operating system as a resource manager. Explain a computer is a set of resource of the movement, storage and processing of data, and for the control of this function the operating system is responsible for managing this resource. Can we say that it is the operating system that controls the movement, storage and processing of data? From the point of view, the answer is yes. By managing the computer's resources, the operating system is in control to control the computer's basic functions, but this control is exercised in careers where normally we think of a control mechanism as something external to that which is controlled, or at least as something that is distinct and separate part of that which is controlled. For example, re- res- residential heating system is controlled by thermostat, which has a completely distinct from the heat generation and heat distribution apparatus. This is not the case with the operating system, which has a controller mechanism is unusually used in to respect the operating system functions in the same way as ordinary computer software. That is, it is a program or suite of programs executed by the processor. The operating system frequently relinquishes control and must depend on the processor to allow it to regain control. The operating system is in fact nothing more than a set of computer program like other computer program. It provides the instructions for the processor. The key difference is in the intent of the program. The operating system directs the processor in the use of the other system resources and in the timing of its execution of other programs. But in order for the processor to do any of these things, it must is executing the operating system program and execute other programs. Thus, the operating system relinquishes and control for the processor to do same useful work and then resumes control long enough to prepare the processor to do the next piece of work. The mechanism involved in the all this should become clear as the chapter proceeds. Above figure suggests the main resources that are managed by the operating system. Portion of the operating system in main memory. This includes the operating system and that given time other part portions of the operating system currently in use. The remainder of main memory contains other user programs and data. The location of these resources main memory is controlled jointly by the operating system and memory management hardware in the processor. As well shall see, the operating system must determine how much processor time is to be devoted to the execution of the particular user program. In the case of a multiple processor system, this decision must span all the processor. Define operating system and explain the structure of operating system in detail. Describe the concept of operating system. Write note operating system structure. List out the objective of operating system. Describe the following structure of operating system: monolithic system, layered system, virtual system, machine, client service model. Objective of operating system. An operating system is a collection of system programs that together controls the operation of a computer system. The operating system has two objectives. Firstly, an operating system controls the computer's hardware, and the second objective is to provide an interactive interface. The user and interpret commands so that it can communicate with the hardware. The details description of these objectives are as below. Managing hardware. The prime objective of the operating system is to manage and control the various hardware resources of the computer system. These hardware resources include processor, memory, disk space, and so on. It receives the user input from the keyboard and then output the data to the monitor. The operating system supervises which input devices data is requesting for being processed and which processed data is ready to be displayed on the output device. In addition to communicating with hardware, the operating system divided an error handling procedure and displays and error notification it and device is not function properly. The operating system tries to communicate with the device again. If it is still unable to communicate with the device, it provides an error message notifying the user about the program. Providing an interface. The operating system organizes applications so that users can easily access, use, and store them. When an application is opened, the operating system assists The application to provided the major part of the user interface. It provided stable and consistent way for applications to deal with the hardware without the user having to know all the detail of the hardware. If the program is not functioning properly, the operating system again takes control stop the application and displays appropriate error message. Structure of operating system. Basically, operating system structure divided in four different structures. The following are the structures of operating system. Monolith systems, virtual machines, layered system, client service model. 1. Monolithic system. This is the most popular and common structure, which can be called as a big mess because of its haphazard structure. We can even say that there is no structure for this structure here. The operating system can be viewed as the collection of procedures which have the capacity to call other procedures when required. With this technique in use, each procedure has well-defined interface with a manager and result each being free to call other procedure it. They provide the required functionality which controlling the object program of this type of operating system. One has to complies each individual procedure or files which object file with linker. There is no information hiding as all the procedures are visible to everyone. When coming to system calls, they are a little bit structures and as the calls to these procedures go with the parameter in well-defined place and execution of a special trap instruction which is called a kernel call or a supervisor or call. This structure changes the model of the system from user to kernel and then transfer the control to operating system. The following figure gives the representation of how system call is made. If the program is trapped to the kernel, determination of a service number required by the user program for the operating system, locating and calling the service procedure by the operating system, control being turned up to be user program. The above steps are applicable to any user program which has to be executed by the operating system. The monolithic structure of the operating system, even though is not structured to great extent, gives the following structure for the operating system. There should be a main program or a procedure that invoke calls the required service procedure. 2. There should be set of procedures that are essentially required for carry out the con- concerned system calls. 3. There should be set up utility procedures for helping various service procedures. This organization of operating system requires that for every one system call there is one service procedure for taking care of the system called service procedure do require the help of a server utilizing program procedure to get things done like fetching data, memory management, etc. The following figure shows the structure structure of operating system components. Layered system, as we have seen that the monolithic structure of the operating system is not all an appreciable structure as it is apart. Therefore, the structure suggested of a monolithic system is slightly modified, and the various procedures which are contained in operating system are arranged in layered form one below the other so that there is a systematic structure. There is a layer has its own advantage and uses. The following figure gives an abstract representation of a suggested mode structure of this layered system, where layers are numbered: the user, operator, application, program, input, output management, user, process, communication, memory management, processor allocation, and multitasking. हाय गाइस, चार्जिंग इनपुट कर रहा हूँ, थोड़ा पानी पीता हूँ, गला थोड़ा सूख रहा है. The system based on the above structure was first built. The technique is for gauge school in Rouen in Netherlands by E.W. Dilkestra and his students in 1968. The system built was for electrological etc. Dutch computer. This system was divided into 6 layers, and each layer was responsible for a certain task. The layers were numbered for from 0 to 5. The layers 0 deals with the location of the processor for the processor execution and switching between the process when interrupted on the layer 0. There are sectional processes which can be programmed without any program or dubbed, for the fact being that multiple processes are running on a single processor. As a single processor, as the layer 0 is capable of multiprocessing, multitasking and multiprogram of CPU. For memory management, the layer 1 was responsible. It was to allocation memory area for various process in primary memory and swapping of the program between the secondary memory and main memory. In case the main memory is insufficient to hold the total program, this removes the both ration about the memory, whether the procedure is a main memory or secondary memory. For managing inter-process communication and user interaction, layer is used, and for dealing with input-output device, layer 3 is used. Layer 4 is the layer where the use program are found on need, not both about the processing memory or input-output management. And the last layer, i.e. layer 5, is the layer for system use or operator process. This layering concept was further generalized and used in Multics operating system, where these layers were organized as a concentric circles with privileges increasing towards the center of the circle. This layering scheme, same as an AID, only for designing purposes, as all the layers are finally linked into single object program. 3. Virtual machines. With the advent of multi-use environment, user wanted to have time sharing. For with IBM developed TSS 360 time sharing system, but it was bulky and pretty slow, which really created lots of program, and it was done with later scientists. IBM designed a machine known as CPCMS, which was very effective as time sharing. Now it is popularly known as VM 317 virtual machine, which was based on the concept that any time sharing system should be provided for multiple programming and to extended machine with more better interface. The concept and crux of this VM 317 system was to completely separate above functions the core of the system, which is known as a virtual machine. Monitor runs on the hardware directly and does the task of multi-programming by providing several virtual machine to the layers above it. Like other operating system, where here these virtual machines are not the extended machines but are copies of the hardware, including kernel user models, input, output, interrupts, etc. As in case of real machines. This provided a way to run any operating system that will run direct on the hardware. Even one can run a different operating system on a different virtual machines like CMS, conversational monitor system, which are a single user interacting with system as well. Other batch processing system as there is a total separation of the functions of multi-programming and providing extended machines. One can arrive at a system which are simple, flexible, and easy to maintain. The following figure gives structure of VM 370 system with the CMS for client service model as in an VM 370 system, which again a simplicity by separating a large part of the operating system code used for implementing still very complex. The simulation of a number of virtual machines is not a simple task. If it is done efficiently, now the modern operating system are taking the same principle as in a virtual machines, but which are slight improvement, i.e. moving the code far away from the basic operating system into higher levels, leaving the minimum kernel. The basis approach is to implement most of the operating system functionality and use a process which can send a request to service process, which will do the task requested and sends back the output to the user process. The user process is also known as a client process, thereby giving the name client service to this model. This model tries to simplify the structure of the system and making the working capacity very efficient. This model emphasizes on very simple kernel, which does only harding of the communication between the clients and the service. The operating system is split into parts. Each part can handle only one factor of the system. For example, file services, memories, management process, service, etc. Thus, each part become so simple, small, and easy to manage. Even there is no direct access to the hardware, as all the services do run in the user mode, not in kernel mode. This is very helpful and convenient, as if there is an error in any one services, that service may crash, but it will not affect the whole machine, so that the machine does not crash. Another major advantage of this client service server model is its adaptability to be used in distributed system. If a client communicates with the server by sending a request to the server, client need not know whether the request is handled locally or has it been sent across network to a remote machine. As the client gets his request processed and gets the result for complex functions, the server process run in kernel mode. mode and have access to all the hardware, but still they communicate with other processes using same mechanism. Let us represent this client server model diagrammatically for central and distributed system by the following figures. Describe the function of operating system in detail. List out of the function of operating system. Define operating system. Explain the function of operating system. Operating system is also known as handling system or OS in short. OS means to create a bridge in between user and computer. Operating system is a set of software program or group of software programs which provide the interface between man and machine or user and computer. Interface means communication between two facts in computer field. One factor is a user and second one is a computer. There are many types of function of operating system, such as one, memory management, 2, disk management, 3, CPU management, 4, input output management or IO management, 5, user interface, 6, communication facilities, 7, file management, 8, command interpretation, 9, time sharing, 10, security. The description of above function are as following. Memory management is a main function of operating system. Operating system manages the whole memory. Memory as a management mean how many bytes are free and how many bytes are occupied in RAM ROM. To disk management, it is a main function of operating system. Operating system is management the whole disk means how many bytes are free or how many bytes are occupied on disk, or check the disk is empty or not. There are many types of disk for each: floppy disk, CD, compact disk. Operating system check the disk. These are divided MTD, MTO tracks and sector or not. 3. CPU management. It is a main function of operating system. It is manage the whole CPU, central processing unit. CPU is divided into 3 units: 1 CU, 2 ALUs, 3 MUA. An operating system checks the all connection are attached, which CPU are not. It creates a time table for accepting the data. It is also known as jobs scheduling. For IO, input output management, it is a main function of operating system. IO stand for input output. Operating system checks the input output device which are connected with CPU or not. For each input device, keyboard, mouse, etc. and output device are monitor, printer, etc. 5. User interface. Operating system provides the interface between man and machine or a human and a computer. Interface means communication between two factor in computer field. One factor is a computer and the second one is a user. Man. 6. Communication facilities. Operating system also provide and facilities to communicate with other user, means computers are interconnected through telephonic lines or through telephonic lines or through other way of signaling like radio communication. Technically, we say that networks are built up for communication. By using these facilities, one user communicates with other user. File management: operating system management manages all the type of files, directories, etc. commands, interpretation. It is also one important function of operating system. You recommend that is typed by the user in interpreted by the operating system. After interpreting, action is taken according to the command for X when the user types date, the system interprets it and prints the data on the screen. Time shrink 9. Time shrink. This is a way to allow more than one user to use the computer at the same time. While many users are using the computer simultaneously, the operating system ensures that their jobs do not get mixed with each other. 10. Security. The operating system protects data information of the user from another operating system, maintains a list of users who are all allowed to access the system. It also keeps track of that files and resources each user is authorized to use. Describe the classification of operating system in detail. Write notes on single user system, multi-user system. Many operating systems have been developed to simplify the interface between user and a computer. The operating system can be classified as a single user system, multi-user system. Single user system mean only one person can use at one time or when the processor computer does only one job at a time. It is called as a single user system. This means that at any point of time the system can support only one user. A single user system has a single CPU and one set of input output device. Single only one user is being supported at a time. Only the particular job or program is loaded into memory for execution. The most popular example of the single user operating system is MS-DOS, Microsoft Disk Operating System. Multi-user system. In a multi-user system, more than one user can work on the system. Each user could be working on different set of program and data. The process of multi-user system whereby the program and data of more than one user, it is loaded into more and processed by the operating system. The operating system coordinates the execution of the multiple tasks that are received by each user. In this setup, there is a central computer that acts as a server. All data and programs are stored on the server, and All processing takes place there at the server, whether computers are connected to it as nodes or workstation. The nodes may be a dumb terminal, as in the case of Unix, where all processing are done by the server, or intelligent terminals, as in the case of Windows NT workstation, where processing may also be done at the client terminal. The terminal and node as workstation act as an interface to the computer, allowing more than one user to access the system continuously. A common multi-user system is a Unix. Some single user operating system are does Windows. Some version of Windows operating system are Windows 3.11, Windows 9.5, Windows 9.8, Windows 2000, Windows Me, Windows XP. Some multi-user operating systems like Unix, Linux, Xenix, Novel Network, Windows and NT, and so on. Windows Me stands for Millennium Edition. XP stands for Experience. Unix stands for Uniplex Information and Computing System. Over the years, there has been a gradual evolution of operating system structure and capabilities. However, in recent years, a number of new design elements have been introduced into both new operating system and new releases of existing system that create a major change in the nature of operating system. These modern operating systems respond to new development in hardware and new application. Among the key hardware drivers are multiprocessor machines, greatly increased machine speed, high speed network attachment, and increasing size and variety of memory storage devices in the application arena. Multimedia applications, internet and web access, and client server computing have influenced operating system design. The rate of change in the demands on operating system requires not just modifications and enhancement to existing architectures, but new ways of organizing the operating system. A wide range of different approaches and design elements has been tried in both experimental and commercial operating systems, but much of the work fits into the following categories. Multi-threading is a technique. Multi-threading is a technique in which a process executing an application is divided into threads that take an or an con- concurrently. We can make the following distinction. Thread dispatch unit of the work. It includes the processor context, which include the program counter and stack point, and it's one data here of our stack to enable substituting branching. Thread execute section clear and is interpretable so that the processor can turn to another thread. Process collection of the or more thread and associated system resources such as memory content both code and data, open files and device. This corresponds closely to the concept of the program in execution. By breaking a single application into multiple threads, the program has a greater control over the modularity of the application and the timing of application related events. Multiple threading is useful for applications that perform number of essentially independent tasks that do not need to be serialized. An example is a database service that listen for and process number client request with multiple threads running within the same process. Within backend for among thread involve less processor overhead than major process, which between different processor thread are also useful for stirring a process that are part of the OS kernel as described in subsequent chapter. Until recently, virtual or single user personal computers and workstation contained a single general purpose microprocessor. As demands for performance increase and the cost of microprocessor continues to drop, vendors have introduced computers which multiple microprocessors to achieve greater efficiency and reliability. One technique is to empty symmetric multiprocessing, SM term that refers to a computer hardware chip architecture and also to the operating system behavior that reflect that architecture. Symmetric multiprocessor can be defined as a standalone computer system with the following characters. Availability in a symmetric multiprocessor because all processor can perform the same functions. The failure of a single processor does not have the machine. Instead, the system can continue to function at reduced performance incremental growth. Use user can enhance the performance of a system by adding and adding additional processors. Scaling vendors can afford a range of products with different price and performance characteristics based on the numbers of processors configured in the system. It is important to note that these are potential rather than guaranteed benefits. The operating system must provide tools and functions to exploit the parallelism in an SMP system. Multi-threading and SMP are often discussed together, but the two are independent facilities. Even on a uniprocessor machine, multi-threading is useful for studying application and kernel process. An SMP machine is useful for an on-threaded processor because several processor can run in parallel. However, the two facilities complement each other and can be used effectively together. An attractive feature of an SMP is that the existence of multiple processors is transparent to the user. The operating system takes care of scheduling of the thread of a processor on individual processors and of synchronization among processors. This book discusses the scheduling and synchronization mechanisms used to provide the signal system. Appearance to apprehend how the user are different problem need to provide the appearance of a single system of for clear cluster of parallel computers, multi-computers system. In this case, we are dealing with a collection of Intel's computers, each with its own main memories, secondary memory, and the I/O module. A distributed operating system provides the illusion of a single main memory space and a single secondary memory space plus other infinite access facilities such as distributed file system. Although clutter are becoming increasingly popular and there are many clutter products on of uniprocessor and SMP operating system. The most recent innovation in operating system design in the user of object-oriented technologies. Object-oriented design leads discipline to the process of adding modular existence to the small kernel at the operating system level, and object-based structure enable programs to customize an operating system without disrupting system integrity. Object orientation also case the development of distribute tools and full-blown distribute operating system. Terminal given terminal with will get the processor as attention once in every 20x 50 milliseconds. 1 second as human reactions time is a few seconds. A terminal user will not notice and delay in carrying out these commands. Many feel that one machine is working solely for him as the total memory available in computer is limited. It is not possible to keep the entire program of all the users of a time sharing time simultaneously in the main memory. The time sharing operating system would keep only that portion of a program which is being executed currently in the main memory. The remaining part is kept in disk storage and when a segment of program is to execute it is brought back to the main memory from the disk, and the inactive segment sent to the disk is the operating of transferring program from the main memory to the disk storage and back is known as swapping personal computer system. The advent of personal computers (BCS) brought about a revolution in computer use. The main mode of use of PC as it name implies is by single user. Thus, operating system for PC were designed as a single user, single task operating system. It is assumed that only one user uses the machine and runs only one program at a time. The operating system of BCS consists of two parts. One part called BIOS basic input output system is stored in non-erasable memory called ROM read only memory. The another part called DOS disk operating system is stored in a floppy disk or hard disk. DOS called MS-DOS. A Microsoft disk operating system is usually used when power is turned on. BIOS takes control. It does what is known as power on self-text. The text since whether memory is okay and all other relevant units function. Having done this is reads from the disk a small portion of operating system known as boot and loads it into the main memory. This boot program then pulls the rest of operating system from the disk and storage it is the main memory. This known as booting the system. Other program contained in BIOS are system configuration analysis, time of day, I/O support program for keyboard, disk, hard disk, floppy, printed display. One of the main feature of BIOS is that is provided hardware independent access to the physical devices of PC, ensuring that programs are simple and portable to other PC. Currently, microprocessor CPU have become very powerful. They use fast processor such as Intel Pentium 4 and have main memories of 2056 MB and hard disk of 8 GB MS device. Due to its limitation cannot use this power, thus never offering system have been developed and are currently being used. The important ones are MS Windows and Windows XP, designed by Microsoft Corporation, and Linux and operating system similar to Unix. The main objective of MS Windows are to provide an eraser way for a user to work IWTS PC to use the full memory available in PC and user other advanced features available in the latest PC. The major new facility provided by MS Windows is graphical user interface use instead of typing in Commons. User can point at a graphical icon presented on the video and click a mouse button. For example, to delete a file, one can point a trash bin appearance on the screen to the file and click the button on the mouse. MS Windows also allow, allow multitasking. By multitasking, we mean the possibility of running one out of a number of programs stored in the main memory using the CPU without in any way disturbing individual programs, as a PC is used by individuals and human response is much slower than a computer speed. Multitasking system with will look to user as a thought, though it is running many programs currently in the CPU. User may thus be running more than one program when such one OS it available. For example, while editing a file in the foreground, sorting jobs can be given in the background. The status of each of the programs can be viewed on the screen of the video by partitioning the screen into a number of windows. Their programs can be viewed on different windows 6. Real-time operating system (RTOS). Another type of operating system is the real-time system. System is designed to respond to an event within a predefined time. This kind of operating system is primarily system monitors various input with which affect the execution of a process, changing the computer's model of the environment, thus affecting the output within a guaranteed time period, usually less than 1 second. As the real-time operating system respond quickly. They are often used in applications such as air flight or railway reservation booking. Real-time systems are required to be highly reliable. Any feature of a system which controls a space vehicle in motion may result in a fatal accident. In such case, duplicate systems are used so that if one system fails, the other will take a multiprocessor operating system. This system can incorporate more than one processor dedicated to running processor. This technique of using more than one processor is often called parallel processing. Multitasking operating system. In this system, more than one process task can be executed con- concurrently. The process is switched rapidly between the processes. Hence, user may run more than one process at a time. It is quite common that a user on his computer can have a word processor open and running, and audio CD player playing at the same time. This type of operating system allows the user to switch between the application and even transfer data. Between them. For example, it allows a user to copy pictures from an internet opened in the browser or application and paste it into image editing application. Embedded operating system. It refers to the operating system that is self-contained in the device and resident in ROM machine. Embedded systems are usually not general purpose systems. These operating systems are lighter or less resource intensive as compared to general purpose OS. Most of these operating systems also offer real-time operating system qualities. Typically, systems that use embedded operating system are household applications, car management systems, traffic control systems, and energy management systems. Interactive operating system, there should be scope for the user to interact with the system as and when the need arises. For the interaction with the user can be required for some instances like inter- interruption, etc. Interactive operating system to do provided for features where the user can directly interact with the computer from a terminal. The user can interrupt the execution of the low priority batch job and get his priority work done by the computer. Even in the real time, one has to interact with the system as the files are to be uploaded immediately, or the occurrence of events in the real world. One has to interrupt the normal processing so that the task immediately required is undertaken. Later, the interrupted task is resumed. Most of the mainframe based operating system today use this interactive operating system. Multi-user operating system, the same itself suggests that this operating system allows many users to work that at any given instance or time. This operating system takes the best advantage of CPU. Here, many users are connected through different terminal. Each user works at his terminal. The operating system of the computer allows many users to work simultaneously by assigning every user a part of the RAM, and it divides and the computer time among various users. Here the computer gives a user his time, and then he goes to other user giving him his quiet of time, and then shifts to other user, and this process goes on as the computer is very fast. One fits that the computer is working for him alone. He is the only user of the computer. A multi-user operating system can have hundreds of users at any point of time, and for keeping track of every event, this required a fairly large among of RAM. As the environment is multi-user, there is a great amount of security provided so that no one can tamper each other's data. The security is done using password. Process management, lesson 2. Concept of an operating system. A process is a compound of an executable program. The data used by the program and the track. The program counter, register, stack pointer and any other information which is required for the execution of the program, or in other words process is a program which is being executed. A process will take its bring from user request program for doing a task job requested. These processes have to be executed in order to give response to any request. These processes are handled and executed by a processor hardware hardware device which is capable of executing section of instructions. The processor management is concerned with the management of a physical processor, i.e. the hardware component CPU, which involve allocation of a processor to the processor in multi-programming environment. CPU switches from program to program, running each for few milliseconds. If we really look at CPU, any given instant of time, CPU is executing only one program. The process is usually when handled by the processor. They may be in any one of the following status. Please guys, channel subscribe, like and share. Good night.